It's a very big news drop this afternoon from the special counsel investigating President Biden's mishandling of classified documents. We found out the president will not face any charges, but the special counsel report also made some troubling observations about Mr. Biden's mental fitness. The basics of the investigation are this: President Biden improperly took boxes of classified documents and handwritten notes after his 2 terms as vice president and kept them at his Delaware home and his private office. Images of those boxes are in the report, which also describes Mr. Biden using some of them as a reference for his memoirs, in particular on decisions about the war in Afghanistan. In his executive summary, special counsel Robert Hur says the evidence suggests Mr. Biden and his advisors held on to many of the documents by mistake, but he also described the challenges of taking a criminal case to trial, saying Mr. Biden would likely present himself to a jury as a sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. Deeper into the report, Hur describes interviews with Mr. Biden saying he, quote, did not remember when he was vice president, forgetting on the first day of the interview when his term ended. And Hur says Mr. Biden did not remember even within several years when his son, Beau, died. Beau Biden died of cancer in 2015, and his father refers to him frequently at public events. The president's personal attorney accused the special counsel of violating well-established norms and of, quote, trashing the president. Fox's Connor Hansen is covering the story for us live from New York, and we'll have questions on the backside. Connor, turn it to you now, though, for your first story. Go ahead.
Well, Steve, as you mentioned, no criminal charges will be filed against President Joe Biden in that classified documents case, and special counsel Robert Hur says there just isn't enough evidence.
I was pleased to see they reached a conclusion I believed and knew all along they would, that there are no charges should be brought in this case.
The special counsel report says President Biden willfully kept classified materials during his time as vice president, senator, and as a private citizen. The report says some notes contained sensitive intelligence sources and methods.
Bottom line is the special counsel in my case decided against moving forward with any charges, and this matter is now closed.
I think more than anything, it's politics that are at stake. I think this will be a political embarrassment for Joe Biden.
As a possible defense, the report suggests, quote, Mr. Biden would likely present himself to a jury, as he did in our interview of him, as a sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. The White House is likely not happy with that insinuation. In a written statement, President Biden said he spent 5 hours doing in-person interviews last October while the crisis in Israel was unfolding.
Special counsel acknowledged I cooperated completely. I did not throw up any roadblocks. I sought no delays.
It's certainly a political problem for Joe Biden, but as we found out today, it's not going to be a legal one for him.
And of course, this comes after former President Donald Trump was indicted for keeping classified documents. His trial currently scheduled to start in May. Steve?
All right, Connor, I have a question starting with that. So some are saying that's a double standard, that Trump and Biden are treated much differently. Does the special counsel actually mention Biden's case, draw any distinction between the two?
It does, Steve. It is actually specifically mentioned in that special counsel report. The biggest difference it points out is that in former President Trump's case, allegedly, according to his indictment, was given chances to return that evidence, and he's accused of even obstructing justice, trying to destroy some of that evidence, whereas it says President Biden cooperated that whole time, and as we talked about, submitted himself for all of those interviews for hours and hours over the course of a couple days.
All right, so now let's talk about the mental fitness or the memory issues here. It's worth noting, or maybe even strange, that today the White House is complaining, but the White House did not call for any redactions to the document. It cleared it, and that cleared the way for it to be released. The president's personal attorney calling some of the statements of the president's memory gratuitous. Damage appears to be done. What do you think is behind this? You know, was the White House not paying attention? Tell me what the backroom conversations are today.
Well, certainly they're going to be upset about some of these statements made in the report about his mental fitness. And of course, this comes on the heels as we've seen a couple of flubs by the president in recent speeches getting a lot of heat from his opponents as well. So they'll definitely be doing a lot of work to clean this up. But the special counsel's point in this mainly is that this could be one of their defenses if this had gone to trial against the president, and he thinks there wasn't enough evidence for a jury to be convinced that there was no reasonable doubt You know, if they came up with an argument just like that, saying, you know, he's an older man, he might have memory issues. Some of this spans all the way back to his time in the Senate decades ago, so he may have just forgotten about some of these documents.
Got it. Also interesting to know, the President did talk about the case today, but he didn't mention any of the memory issues or things pointed out in the report as well. All right, Connor Hansen, New York, thank you very much.